Hello and welcome back. My name is Xodas, and today I want to talk about stat DRs and our stat priority as frost DKs and all that kind of stuff, because as you guys have probably realized, we're getting to the point where we actually have enough gear that we're starting to DR mastery. So I put a lot of time, a lot of effort into trying to nail down for sure what the soft and hard cap is for mastery. And so let's go ahead and go over this stuff and make sure you guys know how to prepare yourselves fully for raid and Mythic Plus and the PvP season that is about to begin. So if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell notification if you want to get notified every time I upload a video so you don't miss anything. Alright, so we are in game now, and I want to go ahead and show you my bag here. I've collected every single piece of gear. I've sold a bit of it now, but I've collected every single piece of gear since I've gotten level 60, and the reason why is because I wanted to try out all the different stat varieties. I wanted to try and push my mastery as far as it could go to try and understand the DRs, and so I have a pretty good idea now of how the mastery DR is working, and so I want to make sure that you guys know it as well. Before we start talking about stat priorities and start talking about mastery specifically, let's talk a little bit about these stat DRs though and how they actually work. Alright, so all the links to the Wowhead articles that I'm showing you here today will be linked in the description down below. For now, let's go and take a look at this chart. This chart shows all of the different penalties for different brackets when it comes to stats. It is based on percent, so that means that this only affects haste, crit, and versatility, and it doesn't affect mastery. Mastery scales differently for everybody. What's 50% mastery for a frost DK might only be 20% mastery for a sub rogue. So it's really important to understand that mastery doesn't follow this typical scale. The mastery DRs are actually determined based off of your raw stat value. So if you have 500 points in mastery, for example, then that's what's going to actually drive those penalty brackets. Now, what we don't know is specifically what those brackets are for mastery. I've tried my best to find a chart that is official that shows this, and I haven't. So if you guys know of a chart that shows what the official mastery DRs are, then please share. I will do my best to greenlight that link as best as possible, and then we can all see it together. So look in the comments and see if anyone has linked that below. I will make sure and pin it if someone does. Since we don't know what mastery is, at least officially from a chart, then we have to figure it out for ourselves. But before we jump into that, let's just talk about this for just a moment. As frost DKs, we do want mastery. Mastery is our #1 stat, and so that means that at least for a long while, we're not going to get our secondary stats up to the point where these penalties really mean anything. It will take some time. It might be the end of this tier. It might be next tier. It might be the end of the expansion by the time that we have enough secondary stats that we have to worry about our secondary stats DRing. But just so you know, just in case that happens, it is important to know how this kind of works. And basically, you can see it all here. The penalty doesn't really become too tragic until you start hitting the 30%. The 30 to 40% penalty, this is really heavy-handed, and this is definitely a place that you want to watch out and make sure that your secondary stats aren't falling into, because at that point, you are starting to waste things. And I think that by the time we actually have to worry about that, we will have simulations, we will have Ask Mr. Robot and all that kind of stuff, and they'll nail it down to the single percent of what everything you want. But for the time being, while we're kind of shooting in the dark here and still trying to, you know, travel through the beginning of the expansion, you don't really have to worry about this too much. Now let's get into the meat of this video, and that is mastery and how mastery actually works. Alright, so we're back in game, and as I said, I have this full bag of gear. I've got like every kind of stat variety you could possibly want, really, and so I've tried pushing my mastery as far as it can go. What I did was I added pieces of gear with mastery on them until my mastery got to the point where I was actually losing DPS. That point for me was about 49%. At 49% mastery, I realized that my DPS was beginning to go down. From there, I went ahead and I started removing pieces of gear. For every piece of gear that I removed, afterwards I would do a DPS test, and I would see if my DPS is going up or down. So from 49%, my DPS started going up with every piece of gear that I removed until I got to 46%. 46% and below mastery, my DPS was definitely going down. And so what this tells us is that for your mastery, the soft cap is 47%. That means that you want to be at a bare minimum of 47% mastery at all times. And then for the hard cap, we're looking at 49 to 50%. That is the point where you do not want to go over. So what I recommend is going for something like 47, 48% mastery, and then that leaves room for you to get a food buff. You're going to want a food buff and you're going to want mastery. So leave enough breathing room in there so that you can eat that food buff without getting launched up into the point where your mastery starts to DR like crazy. A good way to tell that your mastery is starting to DR like crazy is that you apply a piece of gear that you know should really give you 2 or 3%, but when you apply it, it only gives you like 1 or even less than 1% mastery. This is when you know the DRs are getting heavy, and I really started to feel that at 52%. So I started noticing a DPS loss at about 49 to 50, and I started to realize that my mastery was literally being wasted. My gear and my stats were literally being wasted at about 50. So once again, just to reiterate, you want to make sure your mastery is between 47 and 49%, and try to be on the lower end of that so that you leave room for you to actually get those food buffs, especially as the expansion progresses and we get better and better food that will give more and more mastery. Alright, so now that we know what the soft and hard cap for mastery is, let's talk about our stat priorities. These stat priorities work for both two-hand and dual-wield Frost DK, so do not worry whether or not which one you are. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what they are for PvE and for PvP. In PvE, you're going to want mastery over everything. Mastery is number 1, and then you're going to want haste and you're going to want crit. This is going to give you, of course, mastery will increase all of your damage. The haste will increase your auto attack speed for more killing machine procs, and it will give you faster recharge time on your runes, and that will feed more damage via obliterates and other things, and of course more runic power for more damage. It's just wonderful stat. Haste is amazing, so you definitely want that to be your second stat. For your third stat, you're going to want crit in PvE, and the reason why is that crit will increase your natural rate of getting killing machine procs, since killing machine procs are of course caused by an auto attack critting. So that is the build that you're going to want whether you are dual wield or two-hander. No matter what build, no matter what spec you want, no matter what, you are going to want mastery over haste over crit. Now for PvP, you're going to want mastery, of course, for the same reason as before. For the second stat, you're going to want versatility, and of course this is because versatility is officially the new PvP stat. This reduces the damage you take, increases the damage you do, and increases the healing that you do and receive as well. So this is really important, really strong in PvP, and every PvPer out there is going to have quite a bit of verse. So you really want to make sure you have as much verse as you can possibly get for PvP. For our third stat in PvP, I strongly suggest going with haste, and the reason why is that haste is better, in my opinion, point for point than crit, and the reason why is because it increases that auto attack speed, which is wonderful, especially for you two-hander Frost DKs like me, and it's going to increase your rune regeneration and just give you more damage. This is great. Crit, on the other hand, especially when it's in small amounts, isn't as influential, and especially for a two-hander. For a two-hander, your auto attack speed is so slow already, it's 3.60, that even if you have 10% crit, you don't really get any extra killing machine procs off of it. Where you do get a lot of killing machine procs off of having crit is in long form battles like PvE and raids and stuff, or if you're a dual wielder like you might want to be in PvE as well. So for those two scenarios, crit is looking like a really great stat, but in PvP where battles are short-lived, you're probably going to be a two-hander. You're not going to feel a big difference out of that crit. You're not going to get a lot of return, a lot of value out of that stat. You'll get a lot more value out of your haste. Alright, so just to reiterate everything, for your mastery, it is your number 1 stat no matter how you play your Frost DK, and you're going to want it to be between 47 and 49%. Now, for your stat priority, if you're PvE, you're going to want mastery over haste over crit, and if you're PvP, you're going to want mastery over verse over haste. That is what's looking to be the best setup at the moment with all of my testing and all the testing of my friends and fellow Frost DKs in my Discord. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps tremendously with the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell notification so you get notified when I upload a video and you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great one, and I'll catch you next time.